out from his high-performance leadership self-study as part of the requirements for the Advanced Leader Silver Award. His speech is 5 to 7 minutes. Please help me welcome Dr. Richard Mao.
Good morning, Toastmasters.
Good morning.
Today I will be talking about my experiences and results pertaining to HPL, High Performance Leadership Project. My project consisted of me being the volunteer chairperson for the Fall District 56 Conference. Now, I'd never heard of this book, High Performance Leadership, but I quickly became acquainted with it. It is very detailed, and it covers 6 main areas: vision and values, direction, persuasion, support, development, and appreciation. We're required to follow, when we do this, we're required to follow the requirements of the HPL. And they cover these different subjects extensively, so there's a lot of good reading here that you have to do. And after you finish all your reading, you have to go and go over some lists and see where you're at. Rate yourself from 1 to 5. For example, in support, one of the questions, I keep up to date on the team's progress. Of course, I rated myself a 2 on that. 1 being low, 5 being high. I use people, funds, materials wisely in achieving our mission. I thought I'd rate myself 4. I am creative and a good problem solver. I rated myself 4. Then you have to do a matrix here. You all see that? It's a little circle, and you have to go and after you answer all these questions, you have to score yourself. And this one tells you more or less with a picture graph just whereabouts you are on that picture graph. Now I was kind of low because 4s and 5s are high. So I was kind of low, so I could see that I had a lot of work to be done. Well, when I finished, also let me just add that we're required to have an advisory committee. My advisory committee consisted of Richard Cummins and Vicki Cakeley. And they were a great resource to me because they have gone through this already themselves. And I really appreciated them being on my advisory committee. Then I went, and after I finished, I went back and rated myself again on these different areas. By the way, let me just say that my vision was that by being the chairperson of the volunteers committee, that the volunteers would facilitate the conference in such a way that the conference would be a total success. That was my vision that I had. And then at the end, I had to rate myself again. And notice that this time I came up 4s and 5s, between 4s and 5s. So this shows that I had grown, And sooner or later, and this is for the requirements of the Advanced Leadership Silver Award at Toastmasters. So sooner or later, each one of you will have to be going through this. It's really quite a learning experience. Well, getting right into it, we started in July. Vicki Cakeley and Mary Skaggs were the co-chairpersons for the conference, and they provided outstanding leadership. We met at IHOPs once a month, starting in July. And there we'd share ideas and pass things by all of the different committee chairpersons for the different committees, facilities, registrations, et cetera, et cetera. And when I got up to give my report, Jody White, who's a public relations chairperson for District 56, says, "Well, Richard, why don't we do a e-blast or a news blast, to all 5,000 members?" I never really knew what an e-blast was all about. And that way we, get all 5,000 members to have a chance to volunteer. And you can provide do a flyer with the merits of volunteering, and we put it in the e-blast. Oh, that'd be great, I said. So, with that in mind, I did a lot of research on volunteers, the merits of volunteers, and I came out with a flyer. I was real proud of that flyer with a lot of the merits. You know, it was even good for your health and whatever to volunteer. and lo and behold, Jody comes back and said, well, it's not such a good idea because we're only going to have 200 participants at the conference. So even though I didn't like the idea and I tried to muster lobby Vicky and Mary Skaggs to, you know, yes, let's keep it, I had to remember that I had to follow all these leadership requirements here. And one of them is listening to what other people have to see and being open to suggestions. You can't just think, you know, you what you want. You have to also think about the team. So Mary Skaggs came up with a modified flyer, which was much shorter, and then Mary George, our treasurer, banker, says, well, what I can do is, as they register, I can send them the flyer and tell them to contact Richard, and if they want to volunteer for the committee or 1 hour at the conference or what have you. And that worked quite successful. Another successful idea was to produce a list of all the registrants, and this was an idea that I think Vicki came up with. And then we give the list to all the chairpersons, and they must know several people on that list. They contact them personally, say, hey, how about being on my committee? And that worked very good too. Now, let me just say that on the day of the conference it was rainy and cold. However, we had no shortage of volunteers. We had people come up and say, I'd like to volunteer, to be a volunteer on the day of the conference. And it was raining, and we had to have people directing traffic out in the parking lot, and Mark Galbert was there helping direct traffic, me and another volunteer. And Mark Galbert was Johnny on the spot. When he wasn't attending conferences, he was everywhere helping. He did a fantastic job. Volunteers played a big part in the conference, and there was no shortage of volunteers. And a week later, I get 2 emails, one from Linda Segura and Hetty Alsop, who are the chairpersons for the spring conference, and said, oh, Richard, you did such a fantastic job. We had no shortage of volunteers. Would you please be the volunteer chairpersons for the spring conference? Oh, I was laughing. How could I say no? I said no. I said yes. Yeah. Man and Toastmaster.